But I'm in here and I'm sitting here looking at the space that I originally created, and it felt like it didn't serve me anymore. Um, it felt like it was cluttered. It felt like it was not really conducive to the creator I've become. All right, so I teased it at the top of the show. We're into the main discussion topic for this week's episode, and so this one's built around like this is going to be one of those introspective Haize segments. So I am currently in the space. You guys may have heard me talk about it, where I started by wanting to move the studio, right? Because I built a couple sets in my basement for different things. The Cordero versus Haize segment that I did the one teaser for, and then COVID started right after that, so I kind of took away my mood to do that. And then I'm also going to start doing more product reviews. So I was building and working on another set for that, and I'm in this space, like in my studio space, and just randomly, to be 100% honest, just randomly, I was like, you know what? I think I want to just tear it all down and completely redo it. And it was for a couple different things. I'm in a completely different space now as a creator, right? And I like to think that I've leveled up, but I like to think that I've added a lot more to my repertoire as well. When I created this initial studio space, and once it does change, like this set that I do the podcasting in is not going to change very much to when we move. So you guys might not even notice that I move when I do this setup. If you just follow The Awakened Soul, but make sure you follow my YouTube page, which is I think it's just going to be Cordero Johnson. Maybe I'll name it King Haize. I'll do all the announcement once they get started, but I'm going to start doing more stuff, more like I said, product reviews, some camera reviews, since I've really gotten into it and stuff like that. But I'm in here and I'm sitting here looking at the space that I originally created, and it felt like it didn't serve me anymore. It felt like it was cluttered. It felt like it was not really conducive to the creator I've become. And I don't even say that to like sound dramatic or anything, but I immediately started like moving things around. I moved the whole desk out. I moved the couch that was down here. I moved some stuff off the wall, a couple of end tables. And as I started moving stuff out, my creativity started spiraling a little bit more, right? And it put me in that mind space of why it's important to rearrange your space, and not just a physical space. Sometimes you need to rearrange that space that's in between your ears, your mind, right? And you'll be surprised at how that opens up new things. Sometimes you have to remove things. And by that, sometimes it's emotion, sometimes it's people, sometimes it's a lot of different things. You have to rearrange that space so that you can grow in, because I'll speak to me. I'm trying to make this personal. I collect things. Like, I've gotten so many cameras and lenses and microphones and interfaces and pieces of equipment for XYZ, sliders over here and everything. And like, while all that stuff still has a use, the space that I've put it in, and because I've let it get cluttered in a way, was constricting me. Like, it was constricting me as a creative. Like, you see, and I don't get me wrong, this is intimate. The Working Soul is intimate. I sit here in front of the camera and I feel like it's a peek into my mind and into my world, and that's why I do video and stuff more often, because I feel like it adds a depth. But it started getting to a space where, like, if I want to show you guys different things, it's so cluttered I had to move it out. And so that's the kind of what this is built around. As people, we have to rearrange our space. We have to rearrange our space, so sometimes new things can move in. New people can move into our lives. New mindsets can move into our life. Sometimes we need to separate from things that we've collected, or separate from the memories of certain things. Everything. I'm one of those people who believe everything that we have has an energy about it, right? And sometimes we hold on to things. Like, I was holding on to cameras and stuff that, because I just had them and they use them, and I'm never going to use it again. I've upgraded so much, I'm never going to use those cameras again. But in my mind, I've held on to them, and they're just cluttering up my space, right? I've given a couple of things away to some other creatives, and now that's going to help them on their creative journey. And those have also been brought new creatives in my life now that may be partners later on, or people I may work with down the road. But I've taken the time out to remove that from my space. I've taken the time out to open that up for maybe something new to come in. We have to stop holding on to things and people and everything else. And I don't mean it to be like a feng shui thing, but you'll start feeling like once you it's funny how, and even if it's not a negative energy tied towards things, but once you rearrange your space, you're creating something new. You're creating a new foundation, and you'll be surprised how that spirit of newness factors into other things that you do. And that's the journey that I'm currently on. I'm sitting here, and it's now gone to every part of my house. I'm going through my basement. I'm going through stuff that I've had stacked in the garage for years, and I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, I've been holding on to this. Maybe sometimes it's been memories. Maybe sometimes it's been, like I said, sentimental things. Maybe sometimes I think I'm going to need it again. But the fact is that sometimes that space has to be rearranged, and sometimes it's forcible. Sometimes that change will come when you don't expect it, or sometimes you'll lose something. Sometimes you have to throw something away. Sometimes something to get broken, you have to dismiss it that way. And the thing that I can kind of compare it to, right, is that when you leave a couch in one spot, let's just talk about a couch for a second. If you leave a couch in one spot for a long period of time and it never moves, you get those lines on your carpet, right? And then when you move the couch, it's anew, right? It's kind of a fresh space now. And you may dirty it up and it may make you think about how you need to shampoo the rest of your carpet, but it's new life kind of under there. Once you move that, you've now given something else a space to breathe and that's been suffocated for so long. Sometimes we do that to ourselves. We stay in certain places, we stay in certain areas because it's comfortable, or it's functional. But sometimes you got to get in there and mix stuff up. Sometimes you have to shake shit up to really start to think and have a renewed mind. And it's funny that since I started rearranging like my space, my house now as a whole, I'm rearranging from top to bottom. I'm like getting new couches upstairs and downstairs and everything. But since I've started doing that, the new relationships that I've started building, you've heard me say we're going to have a show in Dallas. That event, that meetup that's happening in Dallas happened because of a group of new people that came into my space. And it came in around the same time I'm starting to move stuff out. So I moved out space, and then new relationships that I've built have built it to a point where Love, Lust, and Badass Soul, which was dormant for a while, has this new renewed breath in it. That's going to, why I had originally planned for it to start with the Dallas meetup and to us to sit down and have that show and that conversation, and then it to kind of be like a new fresh start from that point on. But I look at the relationships that I built there. Shout out to my bro Rod. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Kelly in the group. Shout out to Sana, who's my sister. Shout out to Cora, who I've been working a lot with. Like, it's funny how when I started moving this stuff around, new people started coming in my life who, with these business opportunities, with these connections that they have, with these other people, these other creatives that they want to connect me with. And I'm not going to say it happened because I started rearranging my space in my studio, but it's funny how me rearranging that and me being in higher spirits now has helped me to build relationships that I probably would not have had before. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. And even me and Tia, and our business relationship has grown to the point over the last couple of years. And it's funny how that also started growing. And like, I've known her for years and never thought about even asking her on Love, Lust, and Badass Soul. But now we've had a couple of episodes, and off our most recent episode, somebody messaged her and said, "You motherfuckers are a force together." And so it's funny how, like, repurposing things, rearranging relationships, rearranging items, like, and we sometimes we look at, like, when people exit our lives, it's at a loss, right? We sometimes feel like we lost something. But what if you really gained something, right? What if that person who either you removed out your life or that they removed themselves out your life did that so another person can come in and fill that space with more abundance than that other person ever gave you or ever could have possibly given you? We hold on to things and we hold on to so much that we just got to learn to, even if it's a sentimental reason, if it's not functional, we need to get away. If it's functional and not sentimental, sometimes we need to get rid of it and push it off. But it's when you rearrange your space, you're rearranging your mind, you're rearranging the energy that can come into your life. And I can't stress that enough. Like, I'm a living testament of that right now. And I've always said on this podcast, I'm not the most emotional person. I'm not. Like people who know me very well will tell you I'm not a very emotional person in the least bit. Sometimes to my detriment, sometimes to my benefit. But what I've learned and what I'm doing now is that I'm like feeling renewed, right? And in a time where I was down because of COVID, I was down because of being stuck in the house, I was down because of riots and thinking about my sons. Like I have been probably at some of the lowest of lows I've been over the last few months because of things that have happened since my little cousin / my little brother died. And that's not to compare being locked in the house to losing a loved one, but I'm just saying that's the most down I've really been since then. And now I'm in this period where I have so much open space that I'm looking, and that's the thing, like that gets that creativity flowing because I've moved so much stuff out of here and got rid of it and got rid of some of that energy with it. Like I'm so renewed now. My wheels are turning, the passions are turning. I'm thinking about different things I can film here and film there, and what I can do with my kids in this room now, or do with my kids over here, and XYZ. And in a time where I should probably still be down. I normally would probably still be in my head thinking about stuff that I've been thinking about. I'm filled with just this excitement, right? This excitement over where I'm going, where my studio's going, where my children are going, where I'm going as a creative. We have to purge, right? And again, sometimes it's not about getting rid of stuff. Sometimes it's about something, just moving something, and you'll be surprised. Like and everyone's been there when their living room has been a certain way and it was good and they thought it was great, and then somehow they move it to a different angle. They move that couch on a different angle. They move that TV to a different corner, or they mount that TV on the wall, and somehow that opens up the whole room, right? Or opens up or makes something that felt claustrophobic before with the same stuff in it feel not so claustrophobic, and now you can breathe, right? And in bringing in that breath, in bringing in that fresh air, in bringing in that new energy, you become renewed. So in a time where what we're going through, and I get it, Black women, I feel you guys have been carrying the flags for us for so long. But in a time where our Black women are feeling down and not heard, in a time where our men are feeling attacked and sometimes not heard as well, sometimes we just got to move around. Sometimes that space needs to be created by removing things. Sometimes that space needs to be created by rearranging things. Sometimes that refreshness needs to be created by bringing something else in. But you have to open up yourself. You have to first start shaking shit up. We got to shake shit up. We got to shake ourselves up. And shake ourselves out of what we're going through. That's my feeling on everything. And it's just, I've been sitting around, not moping really, but it's just funny because I went from one day walking in my house to feeling like, Jesus, we got a lot of stuff. Jesus, I can't breathe. Maybe we need to get a bigger place. To walking into my house and into my studio space feeling like, this is a beautiful canvas that we about to paint this shit. And so it's just funny how that little bit of difference, that little bit of change can renew you and refresh you. You got to learn to rearrange your life, man. And in that rearranging comes a reset, right? It becomes, when we rearrange stuff, we're setting it anew. We're setting a new stage. We're setting a new platform. And again, I know I keep making the comparison back to my studio space because that's currently like where I am. But this is more than just a physical thing. This is a mental thing. You got to do self-care. You got to treat yourself. Got to get that fresh air into your life or into your mind. You got to declutter. Get rid of the stuff that we've been holding on to. Get rid of it. We got to be positive. We got to affirm our decisions. So whether it's you affirming yourself, whether it's affirming you deciding to move something out of your life, you got to affirm those decisions. And then freshen up. Like sometimes, like simple, like even if you're in a space where you don't have much room to rearrange, like a lot of stuff, you'll be surprised at what it is just to clean and just freshen some stuff up. Just bring something in fresh. And then lastly, sometimes you either have to go somewhere new or you have to bring in something new. you have to do that, and that's going to rearrange the energy around you and energy in your life, man. But that's it. It's a fairly short episode, I know, but hopefully it's a deep one that you guys take a lot of content for, well, a lot of content and stuff from, because it's really just, I think I'm really in the space of a mental and spiritual reset, really. And like, it started with rearranging my studio. Like, I'm in such a different space. Like, people who are around me have probably heard from me on the phone more than ever. You guys know I'm infamous for saying I don't talk on the phone. And it's so many changes that are happening in my life right now, and all positive, that it's, well, some not, I will admit, some not, some not are not as positive, but I feel like even the ones that maybe I don't look at or view as a net positive, sometimes it's necessary, right? And that's sometimes it is. Sometimes we do have to have certain things that may seem negative or may not seem as positive as we want them to be, but they're still necessary, that we have to make it through. And that goes again to something that you may like. You may like that lamp, but you still may need to get rid of it. So it's just, I'm sitting here and it's funny how this all started with rearranging the studio, and it's turned into really rearranging my mind completely. I'm in a completely different mindset than what I was 3-4 months ago. I'm just happy. Like, you feel me? And it's not that I wasn't happy before, but I'm like, I have this renewed sense of not only happiness, but purpose, right? And I know what I'm going to do with my creativity is going to touch people. It always has. What I've done with The Awakened Soul has touched people from day one, and is going to continue to. And as I continue to grow my content, I'm still working on that short film, y'all. I haven't forgot about y'all. For those who ask, I promise you're still going to get it. It's funny, you say short film and people just keep asking about, like, it's really going to be like a 3 to 4 minute short film, y'all. But this is my first foray into like actual film, and like, maybe that's why I'm being so anal on it. And I've talked about it before, how I get so caught up in the particulars of things, so sometimes, that I don't ever release it. But I promise you, this one will be released. But especially in the space that I'm in now, like, it's just weird. It's really weird, man. In a good way, though. It's really weird. I like to hear how are you guys rearranging your mindset? How are you guys going to task yourself with rearranging something in your life? Matter of fact, I'm going to task you. For anyone who's listening to this podcast, I want you guys to write in theawakenedsoulpod@gmail.com, or you can tweet me at the Twitter handles I gave you before. You can leave a voicemail at 614-547-2039. I want to hear about something in your life you're going to rearrange between now and the end of the year, and what you're going to start. I would love to hear that from you guys. But that's it for me. This has been another episode of The Awakened Soul Podcast. I am your host, CEO Haize. You can follow me at CEO Haize. You can follow the podcast at Awakened Soul Pod, or at The Awakened Soul Pod. And then lastly, you can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, theawakenedsoulpod@gmail.com. We are the #1 podcast in the world. I don't doubt it at all. I will see you lovely and beautiful people next week. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.